In today's video, I won't be taking you to any grand royal palace. Instead, we'll step inside the home of an ordinary Chinese family and look at some of their strange and fascinating daily customs. Did you know that in ancient China, a small wall was placed in front of your home's entrance? Not for decoration, but to protect against ghosts. Yes, you heard that right. Today's conversation is full of such peculiar and spine-tingling stories. Let's begin our thrilling journey back through time. The morning light and the shadow of ancestors. What do you think was the very first thing done each morning in an ancient Chinese household? Sipping a hot cup of tea like we might? Not at all. The head of the household would go straight to a small altar in a corner of the home. There may have been no photographs, but there were carefully arranged wooden tablets with names carved into them, symbols of their ancestors' spirits. They believed that their parents and grandparents hadn't simply disappeared after death. They remained with the family always, invisibly watching over and protecting them. Lighting incense and offering morning prayers was not optional. It was an unwritten law. They believed that if these rituals were ever neglected, the deceased relatives would transform into hungry ghosts and bring great misfortune or illness upon the entire family. They believed that everything you eat today, every home you live in, is a blessing from your ancestors. So the very first act of the day was expressing gratitude to them. In the quiet of the morning, amid the rising smoke of incense, they would share their joys and sorrows with those who had come before. Do you have any morning rituals in your home that simply cannot be skipped? Even something small, something that makes the day feel like it hasn't truly begun without it? If so, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear everyone's stories. The dining table, where every bite came with rules. You've all seen chopsticks. But in ancient China, using them was a matter of the utmost etiquette. Imagine you're eating away happily, chatting, and you absent-mindedly stick your chopsticks straight upright into your bowl of rice. The elders in your home would immediately look at you as though you'd committed a terrible sin. The reason behind this might give you a slight chill. In ancient China, when food was offered at a graveside altar for the deceased, chopsticks were placed standing upright exactly this way. So placing chopsticks like that at the dinner table meant you were symbolically pushing a family member toward death, or cursing them. This was considered a deeply inauspicious act. There was more. You could never tap the side of your bowl with chopsticks. Why? Because in ancient China, only beggars would tap their bowls that way to get people's attention. If a child accidentally did it, they would be strictly punished, as it was believed to bring poverty upon the family. Then there were the seating rules. Today we sit wherever we like at the dining table. That would have been unthinkable back then. The oldest member of the household always sat facing away from the door in what was called the power seat. And for younger members, the rule was firm. No one could touch their food until the eldest had taken the first bite. This wasn't merely a rule, it was a unique language of respect and love for one's elders. It may seem strict by today's standards, but that discipline was the very foundation of an ideal Chinese family. For those of you who enjoy eating with chopsticks, did you know about this rule before? Don't forget to let me know in the comments. Grooming and the sanctity of hair. Today, we can walk into a salon whenever we feel like it and cut or restyle our hair freely. But if you had lived in ancient China, even thinking about cutting your hair was considered a serious offense. Those who have watched ancient Chinese dramas or films have surely noticed that men also wore long hair, elegantly tied up on their heads. Why didn't they cut it? There was a deep philosophy behind it. They believed that our bodies, our skin, and every strand of hair on our heads were precious gifts passed down from our parents. They said that cutting your hair was equivalent to mutilating your parents or disrespecting them. They believed that within their hair lay the essence of their longevity and the blessings of their ancestors. Anyone who carelessly cut their hair was looked upon with great disapproval by society. Even cutting one's nails required consulting a special almanac or calendar. Certain days were inauspicious for nail cutting, others were prescribed for washing hair. These were everyday considerations. Today, you might try a new hairstyle and feel very modern, but back then, cutting your hair as you pleased was akin to social suicide. As punishment, criminals sometimes had their hair cut so that all of society would know they had lost the honor of their lineage. Think about how freely we treat our bodies today compared to how sacred people of that era considered every part of themselves. House walls and the fear of ghosts. Now, let me tell you about an architectural feature that might make you laugh at first. But to the ancient Chinese, it was the ultimate shield of protection. Have you ever heard of feng shui, the Chinese art of spatial arrangement? In ancient China, entering almost any home, you would find a small wall or screen standing just inside the main entrance. You might think it was there for privacy, to prevent outsiders from seeing in. But the real reason was something else entirely. These were called spirit screens. The ancient Chinese firmly believed that ghosts and evil spirits could only travel in straight lines. They were completely incapable of turning or moving sideways. So if a small wall was placed directly behind the front door, any ghost coming straight in would collide with it and be unable to enter further. They believed this wall was what protected their home from supernatural forces. Not just homes, these structures were also built at road intersections throughout the city. Their cleaning customs were equally unusual. Dust was never swept from inside the house outward. Instead, it was swept from the outside inward and gathered into a corner. This was because they believed that good fortune entered the home along with the dust from outside. We might call this superstition, but to them, it was the only source of peace of mind. Hospitality and the secret language of tea. Before we leave the home, let's take a look at the sitting room. In ancient China, offering someone a cup of tea was far more than quenching thirst. It was a silent conversation. Imagine visiting someone's home and noticing the host continuously refilling your cup. That was a sign of honor and welcome. But if they filled your cup right to the brim, that was a polite signal. It was time for you to leave. It was their gracious way of saying goodbye. There was also a custom of tapping 3 fingers on the table beside your teacup while being served, which expressed gratitude without uttering a word of thanks. These small gestures were the very soul of their social relationships. Documents and the sanctity of ink, another fascinating practice, involved their relationship with writing. In ancient China, paper and ink were regarded as deeply sacred. If you came across a piece of paper with writing on it, you could never drop it on the ground. Even using written paper to wipe something was considered sinful. Every neighborhood had a pagoda of burning paper, where written pages were ceremonially burned with due reverence. They believed that letters and characters represented knowledge, and knowledge was divine light. To trample upon that light was to darken one's own fate. Shoes and the restless spirits of the night. After finishing the day's work, when it was finally time to head to the bedroom for the night, another peculiar custom would come into play. Do you know how people in ancient China would take off and place their shoes or sandals? They would never leave their shoes pointing toward the bed. The toes of the shoes were always pointed away from the bed, toward the door. Why, you ask? They held a strange belief that at night, when evil spirits and malevolent forces roamed the house, they would try to slip inside any shoes left on the floor. If the opening of the shoe faced the bed, the spirit would slide its feet in and walk straight up onto the bed, either entering the body of the sleeping person or terrifying them in their sleep. Even today, many elderly people in China still follow this rule. Just think about how vigilant they had to be even before going to sleep at night. Mirrors and the shield against the evil eye. Another fascinating subject was the use of mirrors. Today we use mirrors simply to check our appearance, but in ancient China, a mirror was a powerful magical weapon. Bronze mirrors were commonly used in those times. If you ever spotted a small round mirror hanging in someone's bedroom or above the front door, know that it was not there for decoration. They believed that when a demon or ghost came before a mirror, it would catch a glimpse of its own hideous face, become frightened, and flee on its own. Mirrors were also used as protection against the evil eye. Pregnant women would sometimes keep a small mirror tucked inside their clothing so that no ill gaze could fall upon their unborn child. To them, a mirror was an invisible shield of protection. Which of these customs struck you as the most fascinating? Let me know in the comments, and if your own family has any quirky traditions, do share those too. Until next time, take care everyone.